Welcome back to Profit First podcast. I'm here with Öykü, founder of BOLD GTM Studio. She's a fractional CMO for Shopify apps and SaaS startups. And yeah, Öykü, why don't you briefly introduce yourself here?
Thank you, but too happy to be here. So it was a great short introduction. So what I would like to start with, a short story how I got into go-to-market. So I've been working with tech companies for over a decade, and I built my own bartering platform. And this was really my hands-on experience, like building a go-to-market strategy and executing it. And for the last 5 years, I've been working with SaaS specifically. And I really I can say that maybe fall in love with the problems when it comes to go to market. And after working as a first time growth hire at a couple of startups, I started to see some patterns. And this is how it turned out to be what I'm doing right now.
Okay, that's awesome. It sounds like it's coming out of love, not as a career path, but like more of like a love for you.
Yeah, we can say that.
Okay, awesome. So then tell me, like, what is that one question that almost nobody is asking right now in GTM for you?
No one is asking. I think from what I'm seeing, it's much more focused on doing a lot more, and especially using AI as an accelerator. But what I'm thinking that to stay competitive, we need to think more about in the network effect. It might mean different things for different solutions, of course. But what I like, one question that keeps me, keep coming up for me is that how I can build a community, how I can turn the content systems that I'm running into some kind of a media so that it's focused on building a community around it instead of just an audience and engagement around it. And it's the valid thing, I think, for any solution right now.
Mm-hmm. And how do you build it? Like when you apply it for your clients, let's say, what's the roadmap you follow to build that community of buyers?
I wouldn't say just one example, but I can say it from my startup, for example, because like from scratch, there was some like signals of creating community, but I wouldn't say that I'm the experienced person I'm a community, enabler or a community creator. But for my solution, it was a bartering platform, and barter happens among communities. The nature was a community itself. So I started like creating some, specific interest communities that match people around those interests. And that happened to be like a Discord group later on. And then people started to start finding products or asking products that they would like to, exchange or looking for. And I think it depends on what you're doing, but it could be like something else. It could be more about education as well, or if what you're doing is a niche SaaS solution and people are looking for ways to learn, for example, it could be about like exchanging information kind of thing. It depends on what you're doing, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. One thing I'm really curious about this is, and it's the complete opposite of what we do, because when we're building those ad funnels, we actually expect a direct response from the lead that is coming into our funnels, whether that be booking a call or whether that be, opting in an email address or something like that. You may actually implement this into building a community in the front end, but the back end systems is in terms of retaining the user activeness inside the community. How do you make sure that community is actually active, people are engaging, people are actually getting the benefit of that community? How do you do it?
Well, it will become obvious, but you also need to create that engine accordingly. And if it's like really early, you will be the one who is running that engine and keeping the community alive. But yeah, but it's at some point this is like how you are kind of designing that community in a way so that people can keep engaging.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, then let's zoom out a little bit. Let's go over the overall marketing structure of the SaaS companies and the Shopify apps that you have been observing. What do you think about the typical marketing team structure of, let's say, SaaS startups in 2026?
You mean like how it should look like, or like what I see, how it's
Yeah, what you see
structured?
versus how it's supposed to be structured.
Mm. Oh, that's a good question and also a tough one at the same time. So from like experience, I've seen that most SaaS marketing teams, especially if it's an early stage one, it's usually like a one-person team or it's very small, let's say. I think it will keep being that way. I know that people are trying to implement what they're doing with AI and improving it, and this will probably accelerate much more. I also think that small team is great, in-house is a must-have, but it also depends on where you are in your journey. Sometimes solutions don't have the resources or don't have enough validation yet to hire full-timer. I think ideally the ideal structure will be that one of the co-founders have like some depth of knowledge in marketing and growth.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, of course, but one senior operator, usually like one of the mistakes that I see is that they hire a junior. It's sometimes results from like resources, but and especially the co-founders have not experienced go-to-market before. It becomes very hectic because like how to lead the junior and like one and like questioning why they don't get results, even though they execute quite a lot and all those things. So if they cannot, for example, hire, Fractional is a good, for example, addition to a team. Well, it really depends, like for your journey, where you are in your maturity, what kind of resources that you have. But I happen to see, let's say that we're in an ideal world, that you will have one full-timer, you will have one person dedicated to content, because I think like content engine is a must for SaaS. And you will also have like a network of people that depending on the seniority, and also it could be network of agencies as well, to deepen the experiments that you're doing, and or if you need additional resources from those from that network, and also including the AI tools or agents that you're creating to accelerate what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me also ask you this way then. If you were a founder of a SaaS startup, let's say, and you had, let's say, $1 million of marketing budget, or let's be conservative, like $100,000 of marketing budget, what would be the first hire you'd make?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing, but of course, I will get someone who is really good with content.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big believer of like specialists right now. It's at least like there should be some other verticals that they are good at, but someone who is good with exchange, like turning a problem into a message that is easy to understand, or that just conveys the value. Mm-hmm. And adjusting that copies on like according to what they're doing and things like that. But yeah, my first hire will be someone for the content. probably.
Okay, that's interesting because majority of the times, let's say like 90% of the times, people seek the answer of let's say hiring an agency, hiring an in-house member, or a fractional person like you, specifically for outbound, whether that be cold email, cold calling. Those are the two most utilized outbounds nowadays. Why would you go for content instead of outbound?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing, but what I'm like kind of imagining that I will be doing some kind of a solution that is probably like product-led sales. It's not really like high volume product-led growth kind of solution, but it's not enterprise either. So content will be the one that will be helping me also like moving those outbound messages as well, because what you need to run that is not just to set the system up, but also like creating value in those messages, outbound messages, so that it can turn into a conversation. So that's why.
Okay, that's understandable. Yeah, I like it. I'm not a huge fan of of outbound as well. I think content moves the needle. Majority of the
Yeah.
times when we look at our clients, if they have some kind of an active social presence on Instagram or Facebook or even LinkedIn, and we are running ads for them on Meta side of things, the performance is much better compared to when they're
Yeah.
not doing any active social posting. So definitely content is is a great needle to a lever to pull to move the needle basically. Okay, that's good. Let's continue with your fractional CMO approach. Like, why fractional CMO? Why not building an entire team and helping people? Where do you see the value in fractional CMO that is like better in terms of helping these companies rather than building an agency and doing outsourced work?
I just wrote a piece of content about that specific question yesterday. So I think like again, it depends on where you are in the journey. But from what I'm seeing is that sometimes companies need like an outsider perspective. And this is like where fractional work becomes really handy, because I happen to like work with multiple companies and at multiple stages and with different motions. I started to see some patterns. And sometimes when you're so deep into the execution and the work that, the it's kind of missed, or it's kind of, even though it's obvious, like there's someone that needs to, link those gaps and like also like make it clear that, okay, this is like kind of the leaky bucket problem that you're doing. And if you cannot fix this, this is not what you can do with XYZ or some things like that. So it's usually most likely a moment. And I don't think like fractional work and the full-time are completely competing either, because they have their different places. And sometimes, even though they have like an in-house team, what is required is kind of like an experienced eye to look at things and work with the team. It's very common as well. But sometimes it's about the the resources or the journey, that they are not ready for a full-time team. But they also need some structure, because they need to be like, they've been doing all those themselves, like all those go-to-market actions themselves, but they're kind of lost. There's like execution everywhere, and there's like prioritization is kind of missed, and all those things. And those are the moments that I keep seeing usually.
Yeah. Also, it's probably some kind of a growth investment hiring a fractional CMO as
Yeah.
well. Like for the team also, maybe, like you hire a very experienced team, but they start seeing scenarios and, challenges that they have not got over before in their career paths, but then you hire a fractional CMO to come in, give an outsider perspective on how you should approach things, and then their team actually does the execution, like 90% of the heavy lifting, but the brain is actually you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really good point. I think it's also about the focus as well. Because like when you hire someone outside of the team, it means that like at least like a part of your efforts will be poured down there, because that's the goal of or you have some like specific challenge that you want to focus. So I think that like, yes, I agree, it's an investment, and also it's a good tool for focusing on focusing in general.
Okay.
Getting clarity and focus.
Cool. Awesome. You keep mentioning puzzle in GTM, puzzle approach. Like, do you want to give us a rundown of what's the premise behind those puzzles? Like, give us the explanation of the analogy.
I really like this question. It's like a puzzle because it's not just one piece that matters. It's usually the combination of how those pieces work together. And it also depends on the problem that you're solving, like whose problem is that, and also if you are packaging it in a way that that person is looking for to pay for, and all those things. And it's just like a combination of how those are working, at the same time how your team like operations are working as well. So it's just a different pieces coming together that makes the whole picture visible to you.
And do you typically approach it as completing the puzzle as a fractional CMO, or scrapping the existing one that they already have and then rebuilding the entire puzzle from scratch?
Well, it really depends what the team is looking for. Like one of the things that I like doing is doing an audit, for example. So meeting with team members individually, checking their funnels, their onboarding, and like what they're missing, it's, even though sometimes they come up with a specific problem that they have, the problem might not be the one that they need to focus first. So it really depends. It's usually like so how I like is like after a first couple of conversation, I see just like a piece of it. But once I got into it and know more about the product and their team and like how they're operating, it becomes much more visible. But yeah, it really depends. I mean, I think "it depends" a phrase is very common for go-to-market.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I jump on a client call and they walk me through a few of cases and I'm like, yeah, it depends, it depends. And they hate hearing it. I also hate saying it, but it really depends. It's definitely not one size fits all kind of an approach in the market, for sure. How do you think about the balance between hypothesis-driven testing and just trusting your gut after like 10 plus years of experience in the field?
Yeah, I think like some of the hypotheses are, our gut feeling anyway, and it's not like you're assuming things most of the time. Sometimes you have that data, but data is not really measurable in today's how would you criteria?
Okay.
Yeah, circumstances. It's not very measurable, but still, even though it's like gut feeling, what needs to be required is you need to measure if it's the thing that you should keep doing or not, even though the hypothesis is coming from your, gut feeling. And you will have reasons. It's just like maybe going deeper into what that reason is with like why and how questions, so that you can open that up a little bit. There's a good exercise that I like doing, which is like doing like growth experiments as a team. So every team member brings like different hypotheses into a conversation, and then you challenge it. You challenge the hypotheses. It's like, why is it important? How to be done? And then you evaluate if it's a good fit for your case in terms of like effort and impact. And what you're trying to do is like, even though it's high effort, to achieve like high impact projects focused on experiments that will bring the high impact. Things like that. I mean, it's just I think a gut feeling is not bad at all. It's just it means that that we have some data that is not measurable yet.
Exactly. Sometimes, like, I'm a pretty data-driven person as well. I like to read data, given the fact that, we always hang around in the ads manager and then try to understand what kind of metrics we need to optimize, etc. And there are like certain patterns that never change when you are running ads to, let's say, a call funnel. Like you have a video sales letter, and then you have a few buttons that actually opens up a pop-up type form, or I closed kind of embed, and then people booking a call with you. And sometimes something in the funnel, some kind of a metric in the funnel is actually off, and we try to understand, okay, this shouldn't be related to this, but the data shows that it is actually related to this specific scenario. But every other time I looked at these kind of funnels, it never related to that particular situation. So I'm like, okay, I'm actually gonna follow my gut feeling over here. It's a little bit of a bias as well. Like sometimes you take it as insult against your experience too. It's like really important to differentiate it between being rational and emotional as well. But I really like being I really like having gut, trusting my gut and, doing it based on my gut feeling, basically. So one thing that's been popping up recently, and, all the other guests that I've been talking to, like SEO people and, ads people like me, etc., are talking that AI copywriting isn't the magic bullet that we're looking for. It actually needs a lot of optimization, after you generate it. So, you have a lot of posts about AI as well in your LinkedIn. Like, what do you think about this AI replacement kind of premise that is actually going on over the internet? I even talk about it, in my posts, like AI is going to replace this part of copywriting, this part of research. For example, recently I've done a giveaway, like a market research prompt that we do on Gemini that actually reduced our market research time by like 40 hours. Like we used to spend a lot of hours on top of market research. Like, what do you think about it? Do you see AI as a replacement or as an amplifier, and what do you think is going to happen with the latest updates in, like, let's say in the next year?
That's a great question. I think it will be both. It will be a replacement and also an enhancer at the same time. It depends on what you're doing. And I also feel that people kind of are opposing it because maybe like it's part of their job, and it will feel like some part of their job will become useless, and there is some kind of hesitation towards that. And so I think it will be both. And what I do, I like writing content. How I use it is usually like an enhancer. I usually have some ideas what I would like to create. I would like it to stress test me, or critique what I'm doing, or like if there's any angle that I'm missing. So it's like a collaboration partner. But sometimes I feel like even though like I'm writing a draft, I am editing it at least 3 times before publishing. And sometimes I feel like it makes me lazy as well, because it's just I know the idea, I know how it should look like in the structure, but without writing it, I prompt it the way it should write. I'm not really satisfied with the results most of the time, but it's just like I think, yeah, it might make us lazy, but I wouldn't want to. There's also like a research about that. I don't remember who did it, but it was about like comparing people who are writing with AI assistants and who are not writing with, with an AI assistant. And the creativity dropped quite a lot with the AI assistant group. So
That's interesting.
That's really interesting. So I think like we're trying to figure it out. I'm not a big believer that it will be like multiply everything. It will multiply for lots of stuff, I'm sure. But what will happen if everyone is, kind of using the same structure or kind of pasting similar posts? Like it will mean that people lose trust, people won't engage, or it's like it will not be helpful for anyone. I think it is just I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, but I think it will be both.
Yeah, there's extremist people that believe AI should never take place in the industry. AI should be regulated, etc. I don't join that. I don't agree. I disagree with them. But at the same time, there's a lot of concern about AI being a replacement. I think I'm in the middle too, because if you know how to manage it and if you're competent enough, you'll definitely survive in the space. But it was really interesting that you mentioned its effect on creativity, because I'm not a creative person. As I mentioned, I'm more of a data driven. I like to see numbers and I like to make decisions based on that. And I have always lacked that creative input because I'm a very analytical person basically. So GPT, when it actually came out the first time, it was like, I think it was GPT-3 or something like that. I was like, oh my God, I literally completed my missing piece, like your puzzle basically. I was a puzzle, and then creativity was my missing piece. It really amplified my creativity, in my opinion. So it's really interesting to me that you mentioned that. But AI, I think AI is going to be definitely a really good companion rather than a rival. It's going to be a really good companion as long as you know how to use it. And staying authentic, it just comes down to doing it exactly the way you do. Like having it as a baseline, AI having it as a baseline in terms of the output, and then editing whatever it produces so that you can actually add the human touch. Because I think AI misses the human touch by a mile compared to when you would do a certain thing, like the same thing with AI. So yeah, definitely.
But we'll get there, I think. It will also have the human touch, even though maybe, because we're teaching it to be like more human right now. I think that's like, sometimes I remember my conversations with my GPT, for example. Okay, this looks like AI, so make it more human. What makes it more human? I explain it, and then it's just like I think this is like what we're teaching, and it will get there.
Yeah, exactly. It starts to understand emotions and that human touch as a concept. Like it definitely doesn't feel it, but it understands it as a concept. I've been seeing it the same with my cloud copywriting project as well. Like sometimes I write a headline and he's like, no, this sounds AI fluff. And I'm like, no, you are AI fluff. I mean, whatever. Yeah. But it will get there for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So I like asking signature questions to my guests, so I'm gonna ask you
Okay.
as well. So this doesn't have to be about GTM or business. If you had to leave
Okay.
one message for anyone listening to this episode of this podcast, it could be philosophical, it could be spiritual, it could be about life, whatever you like. What would you want people to hear?
Okay. That's a tough question. I would say that simplify and also make sure that your actions are completing each other. It's not like, you know, different actions that wins, but it's like actions that kind of compounds each other and that are working in alignment with each other. So, and that requires simplifying things and how you're approaching, whether it's go to market or how you're running your business, I think. And this is also a thing that I'm telling myself too, because I'm a really enthusiastic person. Usually it's like if there's something, a project or something that I would like to do, I would like to do it kind of immediately. So I'm trying to simplify myself, simplify my workflows and what I'm doing, and as well. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. We like to complicate things, like, when you're starting something new or when you want to improve something, you just want to draw some kind of like complicated Miro boards and then strategize everything, calculate every move, etc. But at the end of the day, simplifying
Yeah.
is the answer. I agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And like if you're doing like multiple stuff at the same time and like trying to figure it out why they don't work out, it's usually that it's just like it's not doing too much. It's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's like how you're
Okay.
managing
Awesome.
your.
Awesome. So, thanks so much for joining me in this episode. It was a pleasure to have you. One last question for you. Where can people find you online?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm mostly there. Also from my website, maybe, I don't know, I can send you the link. But
Yes.
LinkedIn will be the easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's in the description if you ever want to contact Öykü
Okay.
and get her wisdom about GTM and make her your fractional CMO. That's it for this episode. Thanks everyone for watching, and thanks Öykü for joining us today. And yeah, I'll
Yeah.
see everyone in the next episode. Bye bye.